and welcome to the final video of the series. So in this video we're gonna look at the final results of what we're expecting to deliver to the client and talk a bit about how we got there and if we hit the mark and how our process has been throughout this. And the first question I guess we can start off is, did we hit this mark? Did we solve the project? Did we solve the brief that the client gave to us?
Yeah. I mean, we presented, like, we zoomed in here on the final result. So this is, Malik, me, and Jeppe, our final images. Was it a fun process, guys? Was it a good one?
Definitely.
Are we happy?
Yeah.
It's what I'm trying to aim for. Nobody crashed.
Almost happy.
Almost happy. Nobody crashed and burned. That's good. I mean, it is an organic process. And Yannick, I think that's the highlight of what we're going to talk about today is like the very organic nature of this process.
Yeah, so like one of the things we talked about is that, of course, you can always spend more time on art. Like, it's never finished. But at some point there's a deadline, and then you just have to make a call and say, now it's finished. So we have our three pieces here, and we have each talked a bit about like what could we have done different, or what if we had more time, what would we do? So I guess let's take it from the end. And Malik, your piece.
Oh, sorry, I was just presenting. A second, I was just showcasing. Just quickly scrolling through, just so people have a chance to see. Yeah, you're saying, Yannick, Malik's. Should we just start here?
So, for example, if we had a week more for this, for example, Malik, what would you do? How would you work on this even further?
Well, I think overall, the mood is kind of what I was trying to go for. But I think due to some curveballs and different tasks I had to do, I didn't get as much time as I would have wished to do more overpaint. So I think it's still a bit too 3D. But what I did do is that I started photo bashing on top, mostly rust and overpainting a lot of the 3Dness in the rocks and that kind of stuff. So I think probably the main area, the foreground area here with the characters is probably where I would have wished to work most on. Yeah.
And I guess just to take a step back, the goal for this one was kind of to sell this hope feeling for the IP. So showcasing the settlement, showcasing people living their lives, even in this kind of harsh environment on this mining moon. And I think, it really solves that problem well with the nice, colorful, favela-ish settlement. So definitely. But as you say, could always spend more time painting over.
No, I think the important thing is, Malik, you covered all the notes. And as you say, it's a paint over of things that are 3D, but it doesn't take away from the story that you're trying to convey. And I think you hit that really nicely. So of course, more time means more paint over, but the overall base of it is pretty well covered.
Yeah,
cool. Should I move on to the next one?
Yeah, then it's you.
Oh, well,
that's Frontier.
I have the Frontier, so I had the honors to be the middleman between Malik and Jeppe. Jeppe doing space and Malik, you doing the in-city. So I just really wanted to showcase this Frontier vibe. And again, as Malik said, if I had more time, I'll have more time to do the paint overs. But I'm pretty satisfied with the amount of iterations and thoughts went into this before settling on this. And thanks to you, Jeppe, and Malik, for giving me a lot of feedback along the way, because I was ready to settle on some really shitty composition, but then we really had some good discussions, and then we ended up with this, which actually consists of a lot of good talking points. So again, I think I had most of the things in the image, but more time would of course just mean more time to think about each stuff.
I think one of the things we also talked about, that yours was maybe almost too much focus on hope as well. I think it's good to have the hope in there, but the focal point was this Frontier vibe. And is it being lost too much? Is it too much focus on it's almost this player experience, right? Of this player sitting there keeping guard while their friend is fixing this antenna. So this could even be like a gameplay moment. As well.
I think I was trying to bite over everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the normal, like, hey, what do you want to say? I want to say everything.
Classic,
so, classy one.
Definitely.
What about you, Jeppe? Last one.
Yeah, I kind of struggled with mine. I think these kind of big space shots where you can see an entire planet and like things coming to and from the planet they're really cool. But they're also really hard to like put in a lot of hope and color and stuff. Mostly because like space is kind of like devoid of color, so trying to put a lot of color in there makes it a bit like unnatural to look at. So yeah, I try to balance it a bit. And yeah, I think culturally we are very we're very used to seeing like these kind of big space shots as being from a hopeless standpoint, like you know, from Star Wars or like most other like space IPs, where when we see a planet like this, it's usually because there's like a big spaceship coming to invade the planet or something like this. So yeah, I kind of had a hard time struggling like or balancing the hope with the space. But looking in retrospective, I should also have done, or maybe I settled on the wrong composition for this. I would have loved to have explored it a bit closer than like planet size. I remember I did this composition down here as a quick exploration, and maybe it would have been a bit more like if we had been closer to the planet also. But just zooming in on the space elevator thing could have balanced the space versus hope a lot better, I think. And there could be a lot more room for some personal stuff. I could see like a freighter coming in and people working on this.
I think I should say hope. To get that thing in is like hope is closely connected to humanity and the human experience, and to showcase a giant freighter in space is difficult to showcase the human emotions. So definitely that could have been some really interesting thing to explore, a more close view, like maybe even down to the bridge with somebody with a cup of coffee looking at docking into the space station. So choosing a different angle could have been fun.
We talked a bit about maybe from the bridge or from where the person steering the ship, the planet.
Seeing the inside of a spaceship coming to this place could have been another way to do it, right? Where you put in a lot more hope and a lot more closeness to humanity.
I guess you see the hope mostly here on the planet beneath that is green and colorful, and the colorful nebula, and this moon is a bit more deserted and being strip mined by so maybe it's alright that the hope isn't on this.
What's so hopeful about strip mining, Yannick? Seriously?
Unfortunately, this type of like concept lends itself very well to like hopelessness, which I personally like, but this was not like in the
mineral they're mining is hoptanium. So don't worry about that. Should we look
Copium?
Copium.
Yeah, I think we should look through the process just quickly from where did we start, and this is of course the final result. So of course usually our process would contain a couple of external workshops with the client, so twice a week or once a week, where we would go over the mirror boards and get some feedback from the client, and they could of course choose direction if there's anything they'd like to see more of or less of. But then usually we have a daily internal meeting where we also give feedback to each other, or if anyone has any issues, kind of try to solve those along the way. We started off from this brief and dividing it quite quickly into these 3 different categories of scale. And each artist kind of got their own image to focus on. And I don't know if we should just quietly scroll down over the different areas.
So the kickoff was the brief, and that was like our first initial where everything started. Then with the gray boxes up here was after the first meeting, we just needed to gather some reference, so we all gather reference and try to enlighten ourselves of what we were doing. Then we were all I'll zoom out a bit. Then we were all like trying to settle for a comp. So all of this is more or less like comp focus on getting the right shot. And then when we zoom further down here, it's like we have nailed what we want to say, and then now we're just refining it. So as we can see in the beginning, there's a lot of different shots, and then all of a sudden we're honing in on what we're trying to say, and then it's just a matter of like finalizing what we want to say for the deadline. But even in that process, I still think we have like I radically changed the light in mine, and you guys came up with this nice idea with the Star Wars moon in the background, the Death Star planet here. So that was a really good insight and introduction of. I had something different in mind, but this one was much better. So that was super cool.
We had a lot of interesting discussions about scale as well across the 3 images, because we needed to align just at least a bit. I think.
Yeah, but that was actually the interesting part, and one of your curveball was also to support us. If we zoom over here, I think we had this discussion about scale here. We looked at this healthy city of Asbest in Russia, where they have this big mine pit, and then we're discussing how big is the planning, how big is the mine, can we see it from space, will it make sense when I see my shot and Malik's shot? And then we made this, or you made this, sorry, I take credit. You made this geometry node setup where I inputted some of my sets, and then we could actually build this tower together. And if I may, I'll just direct us down further, then we can see that, or go all the way down here, that actually my set here is in the background of Malik's, the stuff I did here. And the geometry node setup you have, Jeppe, was actually the one I made to build my tower. So that was a really, really good process. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Thanks. That was a really good process to align our views. So both first off, we didn't have to do like extra work. Secondly, it was much more integrated in each other's shots. So that was a really good thing. We actually set up an asset library for this project. Or you set up an asset library for this project, and the geometry node here was really good to get in, so that we could easily populate each other's images. That meant that we had some juicy discussion about scale and sci-fi griefles. Yes. But that's funny. I mean, that's good, because a challenge is always good. I don't have the answers, and like together we have the answer. So that was really, really good.
Yeah, I think in the end we got it really, really neat and tidy together. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you had the nice planet in the background as well to your shot. I think it was a thing that happened along the way as well. And Malik, you did some kit bashing, or did some building of your own kits that's up here of the different buildings for your city. Yeah. And in the beginning they were a bit maybe too Western, then you really added some nice color to them, and we had the idea of having these spaceship parts that were being repurposed for these.
But still at the same time contrasting to the kind of white and black industrial look of the tower.
I think this is the humans. This is where the color and
I think there was a discussion that we came up with, like, hey, what if the corp was very black and white and the human world was very colorful? And I think that was a discussion that came up on day 2 when you dropped in this image here, and it was like, it's a nice color scheme. Maybe we can take that color scheme for the corp, and then just implement colors into the human world to have this contrast between the industrial and desert-like planets. Strip mining in its essence is not very fun, and then have this city that supports the whole strip mine facility, and then just make the life happen in there. And from a player perspective, like, could be like a social hub where you have your mission, the start of the mission, and you go out into the world, fight critters and other corporations, and then you come back to your city. I think Arcane is also the same. You have this bustling last drop, and then you go out into the world from there.
Yeah, and I think that these 3 concepts really also solve the problem that way of showing this people chilling in this hopeful town, colorful town. You're kind of, the frontier image is kind of on the verge where you can still see some color and see a bit of a bleak planet, and then your planet is looking very bleak and strip mined with some hope in the distance. So I think it solves the brief quite well that way.
But should we just...
I mean, next steps, I guess, from us for this, usually on projects like this, this would be a part of a collaboration. So we tried with multiple clients where they, at some point during the process, have a deadline where they need to show off to some investors or publishers or whatever that, hey, we're actually on target, we can do this, we have these plans for the process. So this would probably be a part of one of those decks. So it wouldn't be kind of necessarily the end of the collaboration with the client. It could be, but it could also just be a midway where we hand this over and then we continue exploring these places further. Then we could explore this moon, or maybe we start exploring the planet or a different faction. And then we'd probably just hand over the raw files of these PSD, maybe also the Blender files and everything, to the client, and then they can kind of take it from there and cut and paste and use different parts of it for different parts of the deck, and then we would continue on another part.
But I think the biggest takeaway actually from this is not necessarily the final image, because that's what you always see. You always see the final image. I would like from this tutorial, the biggest takeaway is the process, and especially like this the fact that we have a daily talk. Actually, we hanged out in Discord quite often, just seeing what each other did and then getting inspired from each other. I think the collaboration is the biggest superpower that you can have, and then this open discussion, and in Miro just facilitates this really, really well, because if somebody had an idea, they drop it into Miro and say, point on that, and then start sketching and doodling together. That was really, really good. I mean, I've been going on and on about the Meta Baron, and I could drop some pages in from that. Yeah, but you have some other reference, you drop that in. And it was like, the twins solar system from Star Wars is really great, and then drop that image in, and have you seen this? And this is really good. So I think this inspiration always just it builds on each other. So that thing.
This is why this is also important to note that this is very much pre-production almost.
Oh yeah.
Like it is not production. There's this. We know the client have a vision, but there's very much a moving target that we're trying to find together with the client in this collaboration with them. So we show them this. They have some new ideas. Show in some other references. Show something that some of the other departments might be working on, and then we just constantly develop together and iterate. And that's, I guess, also sums up why we usually don't do briefs at Vizlab, because this is very difficult to do in brief form. We can't just get a written instruction to do this image and then done, because this is very much a collaborative effort. So I don't know. Is there anything else we felt we learned, or did we kind of cover it all?
I think one of the important aspects of it as well is, like, as much as we find out about like the IP, like what it is and how it should look, we find out even more about like what it isn't and how it shouldn't look as well, and how it shouldn't feel, and what can we throw out, and how much tech does these people have, and what tech don't they have, and stuff like that. I think that's really, really valuable from a world building perspective as well.
Definitely. I mean, every time like that's always like I guess there's a fall-off curve. Like the more time you have, the more you can dig into every aspect and start asking questions, because we don't have the answers for anything when you start up. Like how technologically advanced are they, and all this. Like just settle on something, build on that, and then you can start to explore every aspect if we have time enough for that. Another time we say we have very few days for this. We just need to assume something and then just get going, and then leave it as an open-ended questions, I guess, for later. But part of the pre-production project is always to figure out all these questions, try to answer as many as them, and then like you said, very important, what is the IP not? Because a very big deal of pre-production is to throw away stuff that is not.
Yeah, and even these images is just kind of a step on the road, right?
Yeah,
it's not like these are might be the answer now and what is the most true, but then 2 years of development later, and these were just like the initial inspiration that kicked off these different areas to explore further and develop even further. So
exactly. I think I'm good with this information. I think we covered.
Sums it up nicely,
Yeah. If you guys are happy, let's just close it down here, and hope you guys have learned a lot from this. It's been a lot of fun to make these images. So, Henrik, you want to say some final words?
Definitely.
No, I think that sums it up nicely. Like it's mostly about the collaboration, about the journey along the way, right? What you find out, and I think that's like, I mean, what we're most about here, Vizlab, again, just doing this highly collaborative and iterative approach to how we develop these images. And then, of course, it's nice to show some nice images at the end. But the whole value is actually in this mirror board, the process you showed, Andreas, along the way. So I think, that wraps it up nicely. And then that wraps up this video series as well. And we might see you in the next one then.
Yeah, cool. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.